Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Unscripted, where we bring together from education, community organizations, and the industry to talk about the challenges facing technology today. Season 3 is here, and my name is George Lewis, and we are here to talk about a key topic on hitting the intersection between technology, opportunity, and equity, how universities and local communities can work together to close the digital divide. Universities sit right in the heart of a lot of communities. When access improves on campus, the impact doesn't just stay on campus. It ripples outward to families, neighborhoods, and the next generation of innovators. We've got 3 leaders here today to talk closely about this, and I want them to introduce themselves.
Thank you, George. I'm Terry Bankston. I'm the Executive Director of Career Services at the Delaware State University in Dover, Delaware, representing President Dr. Tony Allen and all of our staff and faculty and our amazing students, and I'm looking forward to our discussion today.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I am Dr. Vicki Robinson, retired. I'll say that again, retired US Department of Education. I was the director for HBCU programs.
Thank you so much.
Hey, I am TeeJ Mercer, former 30 years nearly in Hollywood producing and editing TV shows and movies. But a change of career led me to become the founder of Move-In Day Mafia, where we provide decked out dorm rooms and monthly care packages for 4 years for HBCU students who have either aged out of foster care or unhoused or grapple with severe financial hardships. And our goal is to provide stability for our students. So I get to live out a dream of traveling around, hugging a bunch of people and surprising them.
All right, this is perfect. Thank you all for joining us here today. So before we get started into a deeper discussion around why we're here, I wanted to do a firebreaker, quick question, rapid fire at each of you, okay? Is that cool? All right, one question, number one. One word that describes impact technology can have on a student's future.
Career.
Dr. Vicki.
Community.
Hey.
Stability.
All right.
It provides stability.
Yeah, okay. Second question. What's the most important digital skill students should learn today?
How to do research.
Okay.
I don't know if this is digital, but I believe in the soft skills, because without the soft skills, you really can't get to the digital skills.
Communication.
Because I serve a different kind of demographic. For me, it's not necessarily the digital skills. It's simply survival for my kids. And for my kids, it's, I would say, to learn how to keep dreaming, because that's snatched from them from having to survive. So what we try to do at Mafia is to encourage them to keep hoping and dreaming.
Great answer. One piece of technology you wish every student had access to. It's the third question.
I want them to have their own, the laptops are always good for them to have, but just to be able to do something on from a satellite basis where they can set up something in their homes.
Okay.
So I don't know what that word would be, so it's not created yet.
Yeah. It's innovation.
Innovation.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say the Wi-Fi and hotspots, especially at some of our HBCUs that are in rural areas. Sometimes it's difficult. Yeah. And, you have your library that usually, or maybe a computer room that usually has the Wi-Fi and technology. But if I'm in the middle of the night cramming for an exam or finishing up a paper after I get off from work, I need that.
That's good. So these two are coming from a whole different place. So let me just be clear about why I'm on this panel.
We're in this together.
That's okay.
Let's make sure.
Right.
I got to take it back to the basics. For our kids, I'm looking for a cell phone service provider for our kids, because a lot of our kids get their phones disconnected throughout the school year. And that breaks up all of their communication, their ability to communicate with us so we can check in and hear what they need. So I understand AI is taking over, but for my babies, it's something as basic as a cell phone service plan.
Yep.
So if you were a cell phone service provider, call me. And then secondly, I would have to agree with Terry, the laptops. Fortunately, last year, Cisco came through like a champ and gave all of our students laptops to kick off the year. So 25 laptops were given to our students that Cisco made possible. And so that changes the game. So Dr. Vicki said that, if they're going to work, they need Wi-Fi. But then this also gives them autonomy to go to work, not have to be confined to library hours, and they can then, take care of themselves, get their bills paid, but be in their dorm room at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, because sometimes that's when they got to get it done because they have a laptop. So for me, it's the cell phone service and the laptops are absolutely non-negotiables for my kids.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention
No, go ahead.
in my introduction that after I retired, I started. I'm not going to look at TeeJ. I started volunteering with Moving Day Mafia.
Okay.
And I am now head of outreach and partnerships.
So she retired to only have another job that she ain't even get paid for.
Okay, well, listen, that is important for our students. That's important for our community. I love it. That leads into one of our first questions that now we want to kick off. So what are the most pressing digital inclusion challenges facing universities and the surrounding communities today? Terry, I know with DSU, you serve diverse student population and you deal with careers. Where do you see the digital divide showing up the most?
We've got some excellent partners, and with Cisco being one of our top partners. And when you asked me the question earlier, it was hard for me to pinpoint what that one thing would be, because I've got students that are doing agriculture, looking at how eggs are hatched and looking at green life and fish and the whole wildlife area, as well as the whole technology side. And for them to have access to something mobile that they could use to do all those testing and data-driven pieces would make sense. And so our students are anxious to change the world. And there's so many ideas that are going on up here that they don't have that technology aspect to be able to get to it. And that partnerships that we're doing are perfect for what we're trying to do. And we're just scratching the surface.
That's great. Yeah, we have a lot of programs in IoT. And with that being said, that leads into some of that agriculture and smart technology.
And water. I'm just looking at the water, and water is one of
Clear
the biggest
water.
things that they are working right now on coming up with some solutions on how to improve the water.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That is great. Dr. Robinson, you've seen this from a national level and how through community partnerships, as you mentioned, what patterns are you seeing across campus that you can talk about from this perspective?
So I would say the infrastructure is very important because, as you know, a lot of these HBCUs, they were built in like the 1800s.
Yeah.
So, we're steady growing and innovating, and that comes with needing more power, more infrastructure, and also having the staff educated and available in order to teach with the changing innovation. So, you got to have the infrastructure to put all those things in place.
Right.
And then, working with the community. A lot of campuses are open campuses, so you have the community coming in, student programs during the summer. So it's really growing faster than the schools are growing.
Good point. Great. Good point. And TeeJ, you're working with students who often, arrive without the support system they need. So, that many others take for granted. What technology access, what does that look like for them when they do join the dorm? Tell me a little bit about how their first day looks like.
So we are expanding. Their first day looks like somebody is there for them, because Moving Day Mafia was founded because I met a young lady who had aged out of foster care when she went to her HBCU. And her social worker drove her to campus, pulled up to the curb, and just left her. And being a graduate of the Howard University, that was so far past what I had experienced. And until that moment, I had never thought about this population. So for the purposes of this conversation, what it looks like is us showing up to be that family. So if you imagine when you went to school, freshman year, perhaps, on one side of the room is a whole family. And I'm sure you have seen the whole family, the mama, the grandmama, the aunts, everybody showing up. But then imagine being that student that's coming in and they got dropped off in an Uber. We've had kids that were just dropped off in an Uber.
They'd come to DSU.
And they barely, if they have a suitcase, most is showing up in with garbage bags. If they don't have what they need. So they're sitting there watching this whole family. They're scared. They're only 18, 19 years old, but Mafia is there to catch that. So they're not on that side of the room by themselves.
Yes.
We're coming in with laptops provided by Cisco. We're coming in with VR headsets given to us by Best Buy. We're coming in with a whole dorm room designed with them in mind by interior designer. We're coming in with their favorite deodorant, detergent, toothpaste. So we're making them feel already in alignment with their peers as opposed to behind their peers.
Absolutely.
So it does not necessarily go with technology, but it's that sense of belonging, that sense of I belong here and I got these people behind me, so I'm going to be all right.
All right.
And that's important because before you can get into the academics, you have to have your mind right.
Yeah.
So that whole dorm room makeover, it gives them that sense of family and belonging. So that's important.
Absolutely.
So let me add to that. So the stats are for my demographic, because I'm here for my babies. 70% of kids who are in foster care dream of college. Only 3% go. 1% graduate. And it's not academics. Because my kids are getting accepted into the #1 HBCU, Spelman, the #2 HBCU, Howard. But they're getting, 40,000, 50,000 applicants, 1,600 slots. I don't know what the ratio is for Delaware State.
Number 6, too. So
There you go. So see what I'm saying? So our kid, and I have 3 scholars at Delaware State. So our kids are not only beating the odds to go to college, they're getting into the top HBCUs. So it is our responsibility, along with partners, to help them cross the finish line. Because, not to be stereotypical, but Whitney Houston said, the kids are our future. So we got to pour into them across the board. I'm sorry, I'm going to let you go now.
No, that I believe in. I truly believe in Cisco and our partnerships become that blended family for those students.
Yeah,
And that's how they can continue to thrive and be able to, cherish and blossom to their future, right?
I want to, I don't want one of Dr. Vicki's points to go without saying is that when we look at our partnerships and we keep the students in the center, we keep your students right in the center of everything we do. But with our partners, we make sure that our faculty and staff are in the loop on everything that's going on, as well as our students, so that everybody knows all the newest technology and newest things that are going on, so they can put that piece into their curriculum and into their syllabus on things that can happen. And we don't act like we know everything, so we depend on our partners to share not your latest and greatest secrets or anything, but things that they can use so when the students are graduating, they already have touched some of that technology.
Yeah.
And it's not new to them, so that
That's important.
they ramp up when they start in their careers. Maybe they don't start at entry level. They may go to second or third level.
Yeah.
But it's with the teachers. So, as we're sitting here now, I've got some faculty that are on a site visit with one of my other team members at ABC station in Philadelphia. And we make sure that it's not just the students that go, but the teachers go. And then, so as the teachers and the professors and the students are having this discussion about everything that's going on, if they were sitting here in the room with us now, I would have loved to have brought a faculty member with me today so that they could see some of the things that were going on and get a feel for all the technology that they may not have touched before, but they can enhance their curriculum.
Absolutely. We
And
believe in that.
technology is everywhere. I mean, like you were talking about your agriculture programs, there's technology for that. You know, we also have to think outside the box. It's not just like, you know, the computer part of the technology, but technology is everywhere. Medicine, you know, like you say, agriculture, everywhere.
Absolutely. Digital transformation for Cisco is one of our key areas. So that's something that we
Ooh, I like that. Digital transformation. Let's get the transformation.
Hey, absolutely.
I like that.
Thank you so much. So it leads us to the next topic, which you guys were bringing up is, you know, collaboration across communities.
Yeah.
You know, the question is around how have collaboration between universities, local governments, and the support organizations help advance the digital access and connectivity to these students? So I'll start with you, Terry.
You know, one of the things that, as it is with PWIs, but with HBCUs, it depends on what areas that they're in, on what they need. So Delaware State, we're the only HBCU in the state of Delaware. But we have a great contingency of individuals that are former military because Dover Air Force Base is there, and it's a big hub for folks that are coming out of, they're doing their active duty. And then they come to Delaware State. So they bring a whole different mindset of what technology is because they've done things within the government aspect of it, whether it's on the war side or at the Pentagon. I mean, or it could be here in D.C., wherever they were stationed at. And they bring a different mindset. So that person that meets your student that comes in at 18 years old brings a whole different concept. And if we are where we need to be from a technology standpoint or rising, then the communication level is such where it just makes sense. So at any time in our classroom, we could have 5 generations sitting at the table at the same time. And we have to be able to have that communication where we're not just stuck on what did TeeJ just say? I don't understand. I can't even get past the conversation because
There's a communication breakdown.
and that technology piece makes it easier for us to do that. And our outreach in the community is such where we have, and not to dominate the conversation, but we have students that dropped out at an early age and started families and are now coming back to school.
That's always
and they're
nice.
learning. So we have students that the parents are graduating with the students. And that's when they walk across stage and they're together, but they can still do that technology.
I love that.
And I want to make sure that whatever we do, that it's all encompassing everything that's going on from the community and the partnership.
I love that.
And Dr. Vicki, as far as, you know, you've been with the Department of Education for over 15 years, and, you know,
She probably gonna correct you and say she was.
She retired.
She retired.
Yeah, so we're not going back.
She retired.
You know, but you see that as well in government. How big of a role do partnerships play in scaling for the digital inclusion?
Yeah. So Terry mentioned the differences in the classrooms. As when I was the director for HBCU programs, I also had predominantly Black institutions. I had veteran programs. I had a teacher program, the Minority Science, Engineering, and Improvement program. So it wasn't just HBCUs. And then even with the HBCUs, I had undergraduate, I had graduate programs. So there were a lot of different programs in my department. And one thing that I did as the director, and this is how I got involved with TeeJ and Cisco. I had what I called master classes. And what I did was I would invite the institutions, partners such as Moving Day Mafia and Cisco to come and talk about the work that you all are doing so that everyone that was impacted by my programs would have access to that information, which led to partnerships, collaborations, internships, fellowships, working with the State Department and FDA and other organizations. So that was very important to me as a director.
No, that's great.
Wow.
And you know, TeeJ, you know, with their partnerships, and you have, you know, volunteers, donors, universities. Talk a little bit about those collaborations that you've had within your organization.
What I'm loving about our collaborations, like Cisco is just for us is not, and this is not, I know this is Cisco podcast, but I'm just telling the truth of what is happening. So with Cisco, they didn't just donate the computers. They put boots on the ground for us. They sent volunteers so that it's not just finances, it's people invested in the movement of Mafia. And what I'm seeing, because we've only been in existence since 2022, we've moved in 109 scholars at 28 HBCUs since 2022. So we've done really well because we're attracting partners that believe in, yes, they need finances, but we need people power as well. And what I'm loving to see happen as we get older and wiser with the organization is now the collaborations are coming together. So there can be Cisco mentees that are then showing them the pipeline, because here is what I had to learn the hard way. The opportunities are there. The confidence to go after the opportunities is not.
Right.
And so what I'm discovering that it's important to put the Cisco leadership with the partnership, or Cisco engineer or Cisco marketing person, so that our students can see what's possible and feel like that there's someone that cares, that's taking them by the hand and kind of navigating them through the process. So that's what I am seeing that's really crucial for collaborations for us, from my viewpoint.
That's great. And, Cisco, we are built on critical infrastructure for the AI era. That is our tagline. That is what we thrive in. And that leads us to, how technology solutions impact students. Terry, I want to pose a question around, what technology initiatives are important for infrastructure for the students, and what's critical to them, and how important is reliable infrastructure for them and their success.
Oh, absolutely. And the point I was going to make a little earlier was that we talk about the success stories a lot.
Yeah.
And which are good, and that's a good thing. But all the experience that we have sitting at the table really doesn't mean anything if we can't hear what the students are saying or what they're feeling. Exactly. And so there's the peer influence has to be there. There's some opportunities that we have where I can show a student how to get the whole chicken, and they're just happy with the quarter dark. And that's okay. That's okay if that's what you want to do, but the peer influence has to be, at least I know I can get that.
Right.
And so that's one thing where you can hear that Dr. Vicki got it, TeeJ got it, Terry got it. But if we had the infrastructure where they can do things on their own, because so many times they're doing some individual work, that if they had access where no matter what hour of the night they're doing some things, that they can see some success and then share it with each other, that's much more than what we can do. So that infrastructure piece is so much needed where it's reliable.
Yeah.
So many times if something shuts down and then they're stuck, they're not gonna ask for help. They won't go to somebody and say, how did you do this? They want to do it on their own and come back and say, look what I did. So if we have that infrastructure in place across the university standpoint, it makes sense. And I would love for us to be a hub for the community to be able to come to Delaware State and make that happen. We acquired Wesley College in Dover also, so we have 2 campuses. And Wesley was an older school. So, and their infrastructure is in need.
Okay.
And our technology department is doing an amazing job to get that up and running. But it takes, absolutely funding and wiring and everything else that goes on. But once that happens, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
That's great.
A lot of institutions, and I'm not sure if Delaware State has it, but a lot of the institutions now are doing like the living learning spaces where maybe the first floor is where students can work on projects, have meetings, maybe have a Cisco-sponsored room.
Okay.
Hint, Cisco.
So that's important too. And there is, I don't want to talk about federal funding because things have changed a lot just since I've retired, but I know that federal funding can be used to improve instructional facilities. And like I said, a lot of institutions are doing the living learning because that's still around academics and, can't do so much around dorms, but that living learning space where they're working together and collaborating and working with peers has happened a lot on the campuses.
All right, thank you. Yes.
And to TJ's point, I mean, the biggest piece is at Delaware State, we have a contingency in Shenzhen in China.
Oh, wow.
So having that whole international piece where if the infrastructure is not there, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I think as a whole, though, to what you said earlier, is for what this generation of students that are in college now, they need to know what's possible because they don't ask. They are very independent, or in our case, they've been let down. They've had to fight for everything that they've, achieved, so they're not used to someone caring. They're not used to someone really saying, we're going to be here for you, and they believe it. It takes us pulling it out of, what, for example, one of the student didn't realize that one of the laptops that we gave them did or did not, I can't remember the details, did not have the Microsoft suite. So we would think, hey, I need to let somebody know I'm missing this if it's not on here or whatever. Right. They didn't. They didn't tell us anything. I didn't find out for months. And I'm like, so you just haven't been using the laptop? So I think we have to put people in place that understands that this is their, we can complain about it, we can say it shouldn't be like this, but the reality it is.
Yeah.
So then we have to have people in place to then be checking in and know, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? So then it triggers, I should tell them, because they're not just doing it on their own of saying what I don't have or what they'll just try to go figure it out and go the long way when we're sitting right there going, well, had I known, I could have solved this in 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the school could have had an account or something that they could use.
Right.
And that leads us to our next segment on measuring impact. And you started with, Dr. Vicki, is, what are some of the KPIs that organizations should look at for, building institutional level success around these types of programs and needs for the students?
That's kind of difficult to answer because, as you guys talk about equity, and I'm glad we're talking about equity and not equality because they are different, very different. But it would be different for each institution because it's not a one-size-fits-all. Yeah. So something that works at Delaware State may not work at Spelman, may not work at Howard. So what I would say to any partner, Cisco or any partner, first ask, what is it that you need and how can we help? Because it's going to look different. Even though we're all HBCUs, it's going to be different. If you have children, same parent, each child is different.
Yes.
And the ask is not just to the three of us, but I'm always going to have students sitting on this side of the table that are going to tell me, this is what I need, this is what I'd like to have. I learn more from them than they
listening
learn from
to
me.
them.
Yeah. They teach me more about technology, and as soon as my team and some of the students see this podcast, they're going to ask, Mr. Bankston, why were you on the podcast talking about technology when I just taught you how to do this, and this. Yeah. But the point is that when they learn something and learn how to do it, the sky's the limit. So the KPI piece is always going to be internships, full-time jobs that they get, being able to look at where they come into organizations at, whether it's small nonprofit organizations or federal government or major corporations, where they fit in at, and being able to have that data to showcase what it is and how this piece works. It doesn't work if we don't talk about it and showcase the successes.
That's great. And TeeJ, one of the things I want to bring up to you is, how do your students and how do your people, your children, right, measure success when you talk to them and they are getting what they need from these programs and partnerships? What do you see and measure that success? What does that impact look like to the students? What do they tell you?
It's kind of twofold for us. One, it's the actual tangible data. So when we first started Mafia, we had a 0% retention rate, 0% in our first year, because we only moved in 13 students that year, and they were all handpicked by the president of the college. And well-intentioned, he wanted to make sure that it was students that he thought would really benefit from the opportunity. Well, for them, they had no skin in the game because it was just a bunch of people showing up like, hey, we're here to give you free stuff and what have you, you know. So they didn't have any skin in the game. So I was like, that doesn't work. So the next year, when we moved in 31 students at 5 HBCUs, they had to apply. They had to have some kind of skin in the game. So our retention jumped to 42% that year.
Oh, wow.
But the next year, and I'm still going like, okay, there's a disconnect. When I started digging, I started realizing that a lot of these students were showing up to school not understanding financial aid, not really understanding how much college costs, what they needed. And so I put in a team called the Mafia Moms, and it was basically a team that took their hand the minute they came into Mafia and walked them through step by step of what, you know, is available to them, what it looks like. That year, George, our retention jumped to 92%.
Wow.
So that's the hard data of what I'm watching. And then the second level is I'm watching graduation rates. How are our babies getting to graduation? But the intangible is every month when they sit their care package requests, they have to fill out a good news section. And they have to finish a sentence stem. I'm grateful for, I'm thankful for, I'm looking forward to, I'm excited about, or something like that, and tell me what's going on. That's when I start to get to really know them, what they're thinking. Yeah. And what I'm seeing consistently that they're sharing is that they love the stability that is giving them peace of mind. So now I've got kids presenting on Capitol Hill. I've got kids that are Mr. or Miss Senior or Miss Sophomore. I got kids who are pledging sororities and fraternities because we've given them the freedom to think, because they're not worried about detergent. They're not worried about toilet paper, paper towels, snacks. They're not worried about any of those things. And the last thing I'll say is measuring the impact. And Dr. Vicki has witnessed this, that things that we take for granted. Mm-hmm. I'm a woman, so of course I've needed maxi pads. I show this young lady, a student at Prairie View, I show her room. It's totally designed by a professional interior designer. She loves the room. But it wasn't until I showed her, we had bought her favorite maxi pads, that she just broke into tears. Mm. That's how I know we're making impact as well, because these kids are being seen. Yeah. They know that they matter. So I have 3 levels that I juggle when it comes to what are we doing, how is it working, what do we need to do next?
Okay.
And what do we do next as Moving Day Mafia is growing? Now we're starting to add workshops. So workshops around financial literacy, what happens after graduation, creditworthiness, mental health, wellness. So it's more than a dorm room makeover. It's more than the monthly care packages. We're really meeting them where they are and giving them what they need.
Stability.
So when you all talked about making an impact, one of the things that Cisco did for us, they helped us purchase a machine that's called an iris photo, and we do headshots.
Oh, that's dope.
They can use for their resumes, and they put it on their LinkedIn pages.
Yeah.
So the first time we set it up and had the students doing the headshots, and then it's emailed to them, the first thing the students said was, they took the pictures, had it on their phone, and they said, I'm gonna send this to my little brother. I'm gonna send this to my little sister.
I love
And now they're passing this information down to the next generation.
Yeah.
So when the students come on campus with their siblings for homecoming or some events, they bring them to the career services office, and we do headshots for the young kids.
Oh, that's great.
But it gets them excited about getting ready to come to college. So that's just an offset of
That's incredible.
the piece that you all did. And I cannot go beyond talking about Ms. Perry and the things that she's done with our IT department to making this piece work. It's phenomenal. It's a powerful state, and so it goes deeper than just us sitting at the table. And if we don't look at the holistic piece of it, we're losing the emphasis of it.
Great information. You know, and before we wrap up, you know, this has been a great conversation, and I love everything about what we're talking about. And it leads me to my last rapid fire question that I want to give you guys. If we could wave a magic wand and solve one technology challenge for students tomorrow, TeeJ, what would that be?
Oh, that's easy. The cell phone service plan, call me.
Okay.
But also continuing to pour into them with laptops. You know, I would love for Cisco that every year, you know, it becomes a thing that they know that they're covering our incoming class.
Okay.
So then they know that they compete. They're starting off ahead of the game as opposed to behind the game. So yeah, for me, that's easy.
Okay. Dr. Vicki?
I'm going to stick with what I started originally talking about the infrastructure, because to me, that's like the foundational level. And I believe, as Whitney Young believes, that it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So we want to make sure that we're preparing our students. And it's also a win-win for Cisco, because if Cisco is working with the students, the staff, the institutions, when they graduate, it's going to help Cisco workforce. And there's so many resources and tools that we didn't even talk about that Cisco have. You know, the academy, the university, just everything that Cisco has to offer. It needs to be known.
All right, and just one last one. Wiring.
Not that don't want our students to go sit in Starbucks or McDonald's and have to use their Wi-Fi to get their work done. They could do it from their dorm room.
Well,
and I just got to say, y'all have been totally responsive. Shania Ishmael, who has been our advocate,
She's great.
You have been totally responsive to have a strong footprint in transformation.
all right. Well,
And not just
Go ahead.
Not just the students here. Terry touched on it when he talked about their partnership with China, but we're growing virtually and globally. So that's something else that needs to be taken into consideration.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Our time is up, but this was a great conversation on bridging the gap between digital inclusion, but also the partnerships. What matters to us most is what's happening with DSU and with Movement Day Mafia, being able to bring student success and careers forward. Thank you so much for partnering with Cisco, and thank you all for Tech Unscripted.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank